How to know if you've met your twin flame? This would have to be my most asked question. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the signs that you have met your twin flame. I'm Rennie. I help people through their awakening journey. And if you're a twin flame, that means you. Because if you've met your twin flame, you've experienced this feeling of unconditional love, this elevation. And now you're on a journey to harmonise yourself with it. So let's get into it. Welcome to this Twin Flame class. I'm so happy that you've joined me here. Tonight I'm going to talk about twin flames and the purpose of unconditional love about twin flames. Now, towards the end of the class, I will answer that most asked question, have I met my twin flame? It might get answered for you through the class, but I will cover it at the end of the class. Hopefully, I'll be able to help you more on this incredible and confusing journey, which is the twin flame journey. So first of all, I just wanted to say that there are so many theories about twin flames, even the fact that they're called twin souls, which is what I actually prefer to call them. And that will probably make more sense as I roll through this presentation. But honestly, guys, who knows who's right? You really have to trust yourself. And the main thing I wanted to share with you here is the best advice you're going to get is from you, from your soul, from your gut instinct, from your inner knowing. So all these external options that come our way are nothing compared to the advice from your soul, your inner knowing. Take that on board and feel your way through what I have to say. So why would you even listen to me? Well, what I bring to this journey is a lot of wisdom, as you can probably see by the wrinkles on my face. I've actually been on this journey for many, many decades, and I stumbled on this journey when it was a time of no internet. There was no information about twin flames, and I met this person. I got elevated into this incredible love. I was toppled from the inside out. And then suddenly it ended and I dropped into a very deep, dark place. Some people call it the dark night of the soul. Some people call it traveling through the fourth dimension. Some even call it the ego death. And with no advice or information from the world around me, I had to intuit and work a lot of things out for myself. And strangely, even though the internet wasn't around, information found my way to me from America. I don't know how, but I actually did stumble across the twin flame concept through the Summit Lighthouse, which I don't have any connection with at all, but this little droplet of information came my way. I think that was the very early information about twin flames. Now, the other reason why I bring wisdom to this journey is for over 20 years, I've been working in the personal transformation industry. Trained counsellor, trained coach. I've spoken to thousands and thousands of people, and I only have one purpose when I'm coaching someone, and that is to bring their internal energy into a place of unconditional love. I've written many books. I'm a best-selling author all around the mind-body-spirit connection. And of course, I have my own personal experiences with the twin flame journey, and I can tell you the love gets stronger. You have these connections, this disconnect, and as the love gets stronger and as you move along on this journey, your awareness expands. And as this awareness expands, more information comes in to help you. And that's why I can say to you, this journey is about unconditional love, the unconditional love within yourself. So it's not about someone loving you unconditionally. It's about you loving unconditionally so that you feel that love all the time. So you might already know a lot about twin flames, and tonight I really just wanted to go over the higher purpose of it. Now, in other videos, I'll talk more about separation phases and karmics and all the complicated things that you probably already know come with twin flames. This tonight is about the bigger picture. So to really understand twin flames, you have to go right back to the beginning. And in the beginning,
there was one soul that resided in complete unconditional love. And then there was this explosion of consciousness. Now, you know, some people call that the Big Bang Theory. I call it the Big Bang Theory of consciousness. And this consciousness scattered into billions of souls moving through the universe, through layers of dimensions. And we are part of that. So as this explosion of consciousness took place, these souls broke out into clusters, broke down into smaller pieces, and so on through the dimensions until you get to one soul that splits into two, twin souls or twin flame concept. So is it any wonder that we sometimes feel completely lost, alone, and disconnected? So we are all part of this loving, unconditional consciousness. Now, just to add a little bit of science to this concept, I will put up in the replay a NASA video. You might be able to find it on YouTube. It only goes for about 4.5 minutes, and it shows solar flares coming out from the sun, and they eventually break and form an energy that rushes through the universe. It goes past a lot of planets, but when it gets close to Earth, the gravity of Earth pulls it in, and it pulls it in and it splits in two, and half of that energy goes to the North Pole and half of that energy goes to the South Pole, and that is the aurora borealis. So isn't it interesting that Earth, this dualistic planet, splits everything in two? Now, that NASA video is a fabulous little one to watch. The next one is just the whole dividing of cells, mitosis. A cell divides in two and then keeps growing. So we have this splitting concept. So can you imagine then that the only way to enter planet Earth is for a soul to split into and occupy two bodies, which kind of explains this looking for your other half, trying to find the one. It's almost the fairy tale concept of Sleeping Beauty, and only one person's kiss can actually awaken her. Well, I think it's steeped all through history that we've kind of known intuitively about this concept. And then we have the big one, entanglement theory. Now, scientists know entanglement theory exists, but they can't explain it. And maybe they can't explain it because they're missing the magic link. Magic formula is unconditional love that bonds the two halves together. So entanglement theory states that one cell is created, it splits into. You could take that half of the cell and take it over to the other side of the world. And if you make changes to this cell, it changes this cell at the speed of light. So they're intrinsically connected, and that's why it's called entanglement theory. And if you've had connections and disconnections with your twin flame, you'll feel entangled with them. You know you cannot disconnect that connection. And so part of it is to embrace that it's there and to then accept it and give it time. And what is time really anyway? If you took time out of the equation, there'd be a lot less stress in life. So when you look at the bigger picture of things, you can loosen your grip on time just a little bit to help you through this journey. In a nutshell, and I'll cover why this is, to come into harmonious union with your twin flame, you need to come into harmonious union with yourself first. And why is this? I mentioned this gravity pull on the planet. This low density planet, Earth, as beautiful as it is, it actually holds a lot of energy that's quite dense. Don't we know this? Let's talk about the dualistic process. There's up, down, hot, cold, happy, sad. There is guilty, innocent. There is accepted, rejected. So we've got this dualistic pattern of energies. And if we come from unconditional love and we descend into a body here on Earth, then we're not really needing to learn anything, because as soon as we leave our body, we will return to unconditional love and the knowing about everything. And I say that because I've actually done a lot of research on near-death experiences. I've had a lot of clients who've had near-death experiences, and someone in my own family had a near-death experience, they all say the same thing. When you leave your body, it's just light. All the pain just drops away, it melts, and there is just unconditional love. This concept is very important because you already are unconditional love. You descend to earth and inherit. You come here as pure energy, and then you inherit the unloving patterns that are magnetized to earth. That thin blue line around the planet that magnetizes everything here, it magnetizes these heavy, unloving patterns. And so you come in very innocent and loving. You inherit these things, and then your job is to be triggered and heal them, to turn them into love. And if you've met your twin flame or had a very painful relationship, you'll know what I mean by being triggered. And so the number one thing in this journey is to remember that you're unconditional love, which is what will happen if you meet your twin flame. You won't be able to hold it if you haven't cleaned up the unloving patterns. Those unloving patterns get triggered for release, especially if you've met your twin flame. It's like this beautiful love comes in like a roaring river. It just goes everywhere trying to find anything that's toxic or unloving to flush it out, for you to bring it back into love, because underneath all of that, that's what you are. And so when you're triggered in any of these relationship situations, the key here is not to look outwardly and blame, but to look inwardly and say, what is going on in me? And I'm going to give you 4 questions that are very valuable to write down, or you can watch the replay again. So if you are triggered, if there is pain in this connection, ask, what is going on in me? And the first question to write down and to answer is, what am I thinking? Because we have 2 types of conversations. There's a conversation you have out loud when you're talking to other people, and then there's the silent conversation you have with yourself. That's the conversation that's important. That's the conversation where you might be belittling yourself, defeating yourself. This could be the conversation that is unloving. And so that's a little bit of a journey to write down, what am I thinking? The second one is, what am I feeling? Now, this is very interesting because you might be feeling rejection. And remember, in a set of polarities, rejection also has acceptance. And in the twin flame journey, you might go from being completely loved and accepted to being rejected. And that might go on and on and on. Of course, it's confusing, but it's triggering something in there to be healed within you. So what am I feeling? See if you can identify the exact emotions. If you're trying to explain a feeling with, I'm thinking this, that's the mind. Get down into the feelings and feel them so they can be released. The next one is, what am I defending? You might find a little argument happening inside your head. I'm right, they're wrong. They should have done this. I should have done that. So if you're starting to defend your position on something and wanting to be right, you'll know that that's an unloving attitude in your ego. And a lot of people say on the twin flame journey, there is an ego death, because wanting to be right does not bring you into a place of unconditional love. I view the ego like a wonderful friend. And the reason why is the ego is like a gatekeeper to unconditional love. So if you have an attitude that is unloving, the ego is going to, you'll be right, but it'll close the gate to divine love. And you'll suddenly feel disconnected as you argue and fight to be right. If you're prepared to drop that fight and just let it be, the ego will open the gate and you'll suddenly feel reconnected with love. And I might add, personally, very powerful, because you've been in control of your reaction. And you know that whatever you think, you are going to feel within your own being. And that inner world, that inner connection, that inner energy that you have, that's the most valuable part of you. And that's how you can bring yourself into a place of unconditional love, with or without your twin flame, with or without a relationship. And that's by making the inside of you loving. So identifying those unloving attitudes of your ego, and by the way, you might have inherited them. through your family, through your extended community, because communities have their own set of values and beliefs. And these often separate us from that return to that one soul where everyone is treated equally, because isn't that unconditional love? Okay, so we've got what am I thinking, what am I feeling, what am I defending? And the next one is how am I treating myself? And that's a really good one to ask, because when we're triggered, we often need to choose a loving practice, but we don't. We choose an unhealthy practice. And so if you can imagine your soul residing within your body, your soul might be going, ouch, I need something loving. I need something soothing. And so learning to take good care of yourself is a very big part of the twin flame journey. And so it's really important to look after your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health, because the twin flame journey is about unconditional love everywhere. So those questions are going to help you to find out where you've got some blocked energy. And I want you to think about the language going on in your head. If your ego's running and all these patterns are running how you create your life might not look loving. Whereas if you can give your soul, which is pure love, permission to run the mind, then you are going to be a very powerful creator, creating loving perspectives for yourself and the world. And that is very much the journey of twin flames who demonstrate love. Now, the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you've turned yourself into love. So what's the cleaning up on the twin flame journey? We often hear, you've got to do the work, you've got to do the work. It sounds hard. Well, the pain is difficult, but the cleaning up of the pain is not. You are love. You've just got some stuff on top. You've got to clean it away. And, you know, cleaning a house at first, it's a bit difficult. You don't really want to do it. You just get going and maybe you put some music on and have a bit of a laugh with it and off you go. And as you're cleaning, it gets lighter and lighter. And when it's done, you go, wow, that's amazing. Well, that's what cleaning your energy is like. It gets a little hard in the beginning. And then when you get going, you realize that the work isn't hard. The pain is hard. And the cleaning is incredibly valuable. And you start to learn that as soon as you're triggered, that is the time to heal something because it's up. It's been flushed out. This is the time to heal it. And so what needs healing on the twin flame journey? Well, the both of you have inherited things within a family, and quite often, and often it's the male version of the twin, they inherit a very dysfunctional family. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot to clean up. And that's why it can be quite a difficult journey for the masculine part of the twin flame connection. The female part often has a lot more awareness and she kind of knows she's got to get going on this stuff, but she often does it, or they often do it on their own. So it can be very lonely at the same time, but they have the freedom of choice because they're often not encumbered in karmic relationships like the male. But remember, I'm talking energy here. Don't be too concerned about whether I say male or female. You relate to it. So first of all, you have a spiritual body, and the spiritual body to me is all the perspectives you've inherited that don't match or do match unconditional love. So this is our perceptions about love and the meaning of life. And honestly, they're either loving or they're not. They're either inclusive or they're separating. And so you'll get a chance to have those triggered in you so that you can simply change them, because a thought is very easy to change if you're willing to change it. And a thought is either loving or not. That's the only choice. And if you just keep choosing loving thoughts, you'll actually reprogram your entire personality. I used to be a very judgy, critical person, and I gradually turned all that around so that I now reside within myself in a very loving, accepting place, which is a lot more comfortable for me. Now, the next one is the mental body. And this really just houses opinions, beliefs, and unloving attitudes of the ego. And as I mentioned, a thought is either loving or it's not. And a thought is either creating or it's not. A lot of people create goals and then they unravel them with self-defeating thoughts. Every thought you have is a creating thought. You've only got to look in the room around you, and everything in that room was once a thought in someone's mind. How amazing is the power of our thoughts? And if you give that permission to your soul to run that program rather than what you inherited, you'll find your life transform dramatically. So the next one is the emotional body, and this is very much the feelings. Most people feel things in their gut, some in their chest, some in their throat, gosh, some even in their legs, believe me. I've coached lots of people. And so the emotional body holds ancestral pain. People act out what they're feeling, and the nicest of person can suddenly go into a rage and do something dramatic and just think that's not me, but they were working with their feelings. And often we inherit this. If there is unresolved emotion in ancestral lines, we inherit it. We're next in line to help to clean it up. Because remember, the overarching reason we're all here is to make Earth a more loving place. You wouldn't know what there was to heal if it wasn't triggered and brought into your awareness. So actually triggers, believe it or not, they're a big part of the healing journey. The physical body, which I talked about earlier, this covers the conditions of our cells. You want the inside of you comfortable so that you can move around freely and be joyous and use your body in very interesting ways. It's also about your environment. Do you have an environment that's cluttered, which might match the clutter in your mind? Or do you have an environment with things that you love and that you use on a regular basis and that you need and that bring you joy? And that might mean cleaning up the clutter. Sometimes that's a good place to start. Now, the last one I'll touch on very briefly, because that's the etheric body. This is how your energy interacts with higher realms. Beautiful subject, not for this class tonight, but everything you think and feel, you put out energy. And that energy is your aura. And that is like this electronic signature of you, and you carry that wherever you go. And we know this, don't we? Some people walk into a room and they just light up the room. And another person walks in the room and they're dark and gloomy. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means their energy's murky and needs a good clean. And when you have that murky energy, you put out a blocking force field. That's blocks energy from higher realms to come in and feed you. And etheric energy feeds the whole planet. This is like rainbows. This is the sun glistening on the water of the ocean. This is walking in a forest and seeing the light coming in on and hitting the ground and smelling nature, and nature comes alive, doesn't it? And nature makes us feel wonderful. Who doesn't love a walk along the beach or a walk in a forest? It makes us feel good because this energy from higher realms feeds us. But if you're putting out the blocking force field, it can't get through. So it's actually very important to clean our energy, make everything more loving, because then you get help. It's quite amazing the help that comes in, and more on that in another class. So essentially, you're made up of all these things: your mental body, your spiritual body, your emotional body, your physical body, your etheric body. It's a lot, isn't it? And the goal is just to harmonize all of it with love. It's not that complicated. It's either loving or it's not. And you learn how to discern between it all. And you learn that this is your journey to becoming unconditional love. So how do you know if you've met your twin flame? I do promise you this answer. Well, I think the first one is this incredible magnetic attraction. You just get pulled together. And this means that you can sometimes have to drop societal norms. It could be that they're different religions, different cultures, different ages. I have a particular client whose twin is 24 years older than her, the same age as her father. And the energy between them is magnetic. But can you imagine what they had to overcome in the families, the structures that had to break down? Often twins are on other parts of the world. The point here is there's no one way this works, except that you feel elevated into unconditional love. The very first time I met my twin flame, my life was actually falling apart at the seams. And yet I felt like I was walking in a dream, like none of that mattered. Broke, didn't have anywhere to live, issues with another husband. Like amazingly, none of that mattered. The other interesting thing about it is from a personality perspective, I like to be very neat and orderly. My twin, when I met him, extremely messy. I didn't care. I just dropped all those innuendos or thoughts on how something should be, which is taking me into unconditional love. So I found it much easier within my own being to be in a place of unconditional love around this person. So actually, even in the triggering, I still believe this person taught me about unconditional love. So that number one is elevation into unconditional love. You drop a lot of things. You also feel very toppled, like confused, because you think romance is this way, or you think things should be done in a particular way. And all of a sudden you're being shown that doesn't matter anymore. So often your life will topple, or the path that you were on in your life wasn't going to lead you to love, and so you're kicked off of it. Yeah, that can be very uncomfortable. In separation, because often twins initially don't stay around for very long, and the reason why, it's like a testing phase. It's like the two halves coming back together, which is why I prefer to call it twin souls. The two halves coming back together so that they can move back in consciousness to higher love. By the way, the fact that that's one soul split into two, they share a higher self. There's one higher self guiding the both of you. Another reason to trust your soul, your higher self. When they leave, the love remains. And no, not like a normal breakup where you get angry, you might go out with friends and trash yourself, trash talk about them. Somehow just the love just stays. And often the unconditional love it triggered in you, that also remains. Then you start going through some challenging times because this unconditional love that you were in, the bubble bursts and you drop back into your 3D reality. So anything in your 3D earthly world that's unloving gets shown to you quickly. And so it's a lot all at once because these patterns want to leave so that you can rise back into unconditional love. So anything you've been hanging on to, you learn you have to drop very quickly so that you can rise like a balloon, gently rising. It's a bit hard to let go, but when you do, you automatically move into higher states of love. How else do you know? Something within you, within your gut, just knows. And I think that it is better to trust that than to go to tarot readers or angel readings or anything outside of yourself. I think there's just this part within you that feels completely torn in half, which makes sense if the soul is split. You also feel like heavenly. You feel like you've been given heaven, like it felt like home. This unconditional love felt like home because it is home. And then you fall out of it to do the work you came here to do, to contribute to the overall elevation of planet Earth. So if you are triggered by meeting your twin flame, you are being called home to unconditional love. And while your mind might want to move into the, I just want my twin flame back, I know that's where I'm going to be happy, I know we can make it work. Remember, that's all coming from the mental body, possibly your ego wanting to be right about this. And I guess that's the uncomfortable truth about twin flames. There is a higher purpose to this. Your awareness will expand. I got spiritual gifts after each separation from my twin flame, and some of them were quite amazing. I used to massage people and see their past lives. It wasn't anything I tried to do. It just came to me. And my awareness, my inner voice, each time we connected and disconnected, my awareness and my understanding, it just arrives because, of course, you're letting go so that you can rise. Now, we often have signs, little signposts, you see their name or whatever. I don't get too caught up on that. Why? Because it drove me crazy. It absolutely drove me mad, all those signs. The way I look at it now is those signs were just a reminder to stay on the path to unconditional love, because there's no doubt this person triggered unconditional love in you. And so that to me is what the signs are. Stay on this journey, stay on the path to unconditional love. And I really feel this is such a unique journey between you, your twin flame, and your shared higher self that nobody can know for sure except you. And even if you see people saying, I know how to get your twin flame back, that might happen. But even if they come back, if you haven't reached that state of unconditional love within yourself, it won't hold. It will leave. And so the journey really needs to be about you looking within and becoming unconditional love, because that is the greatest state to actually have your twin flame come into your life and stay. And on that note, I wanted to say, what if your twin flame in separation is actually waiting for you to do this journey? Maybe their way of getting there is different to you, and please allow for that, because remember, opposites, their journey might be quite opposite to you. I can do another video about that because I'm running out of time now. But what if they're waiting for you to become unconditional love? And so all that waiting for them, I want you to flip it and empower yourself and go on this journey to unconditional love.
And if today's conversation got you thinking, good, that's the point. For more support, check out my book links and free chat in the description below, because honestly, this stuff is too important to figure out alone. And if you got any value from this, hit subscribe and like the video. It helps way more than you know, and it tells the universe you're ready for more. See you in the next video.